the basis of the lecture, and not just the basis, the content of the lecture, and a very comprehensive review of what the new trends have been in 2014 has been compiled by a previous module leader and the founding father, if you like, of the IT Toolbox, Professor Jonathan Briggs, who's now running his own company, his own business in Singapore. I mean, it's not with us anymore, but we are using the legacy because it's 2015 is not too far from 2014, so we can still really capitalize on the and watch the trends as they progress from 2014. So how I thought I should proceed is probably turn it a little bit upside down, start from my small addition on 2015. It's just started, so we're going to be better off talking about the trends in 2015 at the end of 2015. But hey, today is it's the first quarter of 2015, and if the budget came out yesterday, so we could also say a few words about the sort of technology trends. And the technology is changing so fast and is so relevant to what we do, that I thought this should be like a rather almost an informal kind of chat between us about the new trends of technology. I prepared a few slides. I prepared a few links of my own, which is a selection of things that I look up when I want to see what's trending today. And I think that is the concept of how I thought we should proceed. You could all watch Jonathan's lecture from last year on YouTube. I have done that. I mean, it's very, very informative and very still very up to date. Things that are mentioned there are still sort of trending and are there to stay. I haven't spotted anything that actually dropped out since, say, last year, or that would have been 6, 7, 8 months ago. So it is very informative for you to have a look at. From the point of view of who I am in terms of being a presenter on your module, my area of expertise is augmented reality, especially on smartphones, especially on in the context of smart environments, be it smart urban environments or some other aspects of it. I worked in urban navigation from that point of view, but today my work with my PhD student and the data team within the School of Computing and Information Systems is on integrating data and data analytics and big data analytics as it is required nowadays, with a view to predicting trends, to creating profiles on the fly, a lot of sort of real-time analysis, a lot of strategizing about what to store, what to analyze on the fly, what not to store, and how to actually get the best sort of efficiency out of that, and a little bit of business intelligence or another type of intelligence that is relevant to your to the area of expertise. Currently, I'm working on an urban transport project where all these factors play a part within the context of making an urban public transport running smoothly. So, from the point of view of technology, this is right in the middle of what I am doing, and hence my presence in here. I also happen to be head of school, so that gives me an overview of other things that are being done, which is you get a better view if you are involved with everything that's going on, or you're driving certain things. That's quite good from the point of view of being well informed about what's going on. Now, what's trending in 2015? To complement what Jonathan was doing last year, I was thinking perhaps some conceptual changes that we can see emerging in 2015 and are being predicted as probably being there to stay. So I'm concentrating on that more than on the technology itself, because the technology itself you will see under the links that are provided, and most of all within the Jonathan's lectures. By the way, the link is on study space. I understand already. But also the slides, from Jonathan's slides that he used while talking last year are there as well. So I'll be adding my slides to it and my links, and maybe there may be a link to today's lecture later on as well. Now, I used several sources for this, and I usually look at something like Forbes reports. Forbes is a sort of a very large company organization that looks at trends and research, in various aspects of professional life, not just technology. And they are a very sort of valid source. The other one is Gartner reporting. The Gartner reports are also very well regarded and very highly regarded and very much used in industry as a source of information about the trends or what's going on in various aspects of various professions that surround the business of any kind, and this includes IT. So their analysis is usually very, very comprehensive, accurate. I was going to say analysis is accurate, but the predictions are not always that accurate, but you don't expect that. You just want to see good analysis. Now, I compiled in these slides a few things that I found that are not Forbes and Gartner report. This is the Digital Trends Report 2015 from the source called Hotwire, and I thought that they captured quite well what I believe is a. Let me just enlarge this so you can see it a little bit better. They captured the sort of the spirit of what's going on in the business. This comes with something like that. Digital Trends Report UK 2015, I called the file that. This is what comes from the same source, and this is behind. This is a detailed version of the sort of the summary, the executive summary that you could see on their website, which I copied into the slides. So there are several things that you will find here that are quite interesting to see. There's something about Hotwire as a source. That's a global PR and communication agency dedicated to helping ambitious companies change their game, build their reputation, stand out from the crowd, and so on and so forth. So you can read about them. They're global. That means they've got offices or sort of people, contributors all over the world, which is quite interesting when you want to look at the trends. So their perspective on this is I think quite interesting. As I said, I had a feeling that they captured pretty well the modern sort of trends. So let me just enlarge this a little bit further. So in the introduction, they try to sort of kind of define the landscape of where things are going and what's been trending so far. So the details of that will be available on Study Space. I will upload the PDF file so you can go and read the details of this report. But the number one sort of trend that I've identified, if you go just a little bit further with this, is the unified digital experiences, as they call it. This is the of Apple's watch, which is a very sort of timely, if you like, reference to the Apple's watch that just appeared, which is that people are now looking for joined up approach to information. They've always done that, but we didn't have much of it so far. We're still not having enough of it, but we do have a trend, and we do have certain devices and a lot of endeavors that are trying to do exactly that, to provide a joined up approach to information. And that means that you can get a unified digital experience, as they call it, on, say, one device. I think this is what sold Apple or iPhone so well, at least at the beginning, or so far, if you like, because they've got that right. Integration of information in one place with not much of a hassle, with quite a sort of intuitive screens with a lot of information quite well organized on that screen, and sort of user experience with it proved to be what users wanted. So that kind of trend seems to be continuing in a very sort of big way. Well, they say here that research by Facebook suggests that over 60% of us already use more than one device, and this will only rise as tablets become cheaper and wearable devices become more widely adopted. And with the next generation, it has already happened. The average teenager now owns 6 digital devices. So we need to find a way of joining all that up. So that will be that, the information that you get from all of these devices, how actually it is joined up, how it feeds off each other, how it's seamlessly put together. This is one trend in terms of, as I said, not just devices and technologies, but it is in terms of the concept of how we convey information to people and what is it that people really want from it. I can just add to this that we see that with you, our students, and especially at the master's level, where I am involved with to a greater extent, that the students are now not just accepting but demanding joined up approach for various pieces of information that we give them within the modules. So they would like to know how this knowledge, how these facts, concepts, theories, examples, case studies are put together to give them a professional approach to certain problems. This is what they, rather than just components that they themselves will then put together depending on the context of where they are. So they're saying, the employers today are also seeking that. So when we come to the interview, we do want to see, we are asked to, or they want to see how we join this whole process together, whether we have the skills, whether we have an understanding, a deeper understanding of where it all comes from, rather than, I've been through such and such schooling, I've learned those principles, here I am, I will now learn on the job how to put them together. That is, it's the same, I think it's the same philosophy behind this trend. And I'm very much a subscriber to that, because I think it's an advanced way of looking at things, because things are connected connected in reality. So we need to look at them in that way. The second sort of trend, if you like, multiple screens, multiple methods, one story. It is again, it is the same philosophy, telling us that that this kind of joined up approach must be adopted. The businesses are spending more time and money than ever before on generating content. And that now it's not just generating content that we will be drowning in that content, but that content is proportionate, that it is well connected, that it has an element of interactivity, that it has an element of commentary notes from external commentators or people who are recipients of the information, so that it is kind of a live meta in a way, but you still control it to a degree. So there's various sort of aspects of the business that are interested in that. One is the sort of marketing people, then there's communications people, then there's business development people. So, but everybody, and technologists who are working within business to actually tell one story through these multiple devices, multiple screens, multiple methods, but so that they are all joined up and work together to give a holistic, if you like, experience to the users. Again, the details of that you can find in the PDF file, which is exactly from here. Sorry, my cold is still catching up with me a bit. The content car, they call it. So this is about ubiquitous connectivity. One, the first and second slides were about joined up approach and the unified information that we are providing to the customer as a concept, which is prevailing and is really a proper trend. The other one is the ubiquitous connectivity. We are now expecting to be connected absolutely from everywhere, and this includes the car, the vehicles we're driving, and not just that we're connected while we're in the vehicle, but the vehicle itself is connected. It has sufficient sort of built-in technology to be able to provide us with all sorts of things, to give us a predictability about the roads ahead, to give us in-car entertainment, to give us global news and things, to give us things on demand, not to inundate us with information, but to give us information on tap, if you like, or when we need it, or even in some kind of automated way, context related, depending on where we are. If we're driving through the storm, we want to know immediately, what's the best way out of it, or what's the situation ahead of us, and things like that. So a lot of real-timeness, a lot of predictability needs to be built into that. Of course, we don't have it all in the cars now, but we do. This is the trend that I think is emerging as almost a necessity that the technology is there. The other thing, that when you have a technology into a device, and that obviously does include the GPS, it does include various sort of sensors, sensory devices that you have in the car, for the cars in particular, because they are referring to the car. They're not mentioning quite all of the things that I will, but you will get the picture. I'm just telling you things that we know from various different sources. For example, in the transport research that I was talking to you about, there's now measuring the fuel consumption, for example. So it depends on how you drive the car in an urban environment, how much fuel you are consuming. It's not just about the fuel consumption, it is also about the pollution. it is also about a certain rational way of kind of using the energy, so energy saving sort of element to that. So this kind of monitoring that, or in an automated way, the car is telling you somehow that you're using too much fuel, that you should be doing something else and not whatever you're doing at the moment, in terms of you're accelerating too much, or you're not in the right gear, or whatever it may be, or to suggest another route to the destination because it would be a smoother drive and less consuming less fuel. That kind of again joined up approach with a lot of sensors and a lot of sort of intelligence built into that kind of the car and the technology that is in it, is something that is emerging as a trend. The other thing is that when you have all these sensors in the car, then of course obviously the car a lot easier. That almost goes without saying. So we actually are in a position to know at any point in time where such car is. And then all the other kind of attributes that there's who's owning it, where there are all sorts of information that go with that entity. You can find out in that should help with your safety. It should help with maybe the theft.
No more privacy.
That is the side effect.
Yeah.
No, but then
they know where you are as well.
Sorry?
They will know where you are.
They will know where you are.
Obviously they know with the funds already, but
yes,
it's another.
No, it is a very big question as well. That the system, or however we want to call it, they know where we are. They know what we're doing. They know what we're up to. They know what we clicked. They know how many times we clicked that. They know what we're buying. They know what we're not buying. They know what we're watching on telly. There's the whole profile. Now we can take it as an evil. From an evil perspective.
For cars it can be good because, like for the speed, for example.
Yeah, exactly. For a lot of things it can be good. It can be turned into a very good thing, and especially if you can actually switch it off. If that you have the sort of the power, if you like, as an individual, to switch it off and say, no, I'm not going to share this now, but you make a conscious decision. That should be built into the system, so into preserving privacy in various ways. And I suppose I'm not somebody who's looking into that aspect, and I'm not so intimidated by the privacy issue. But I know that half of the world is, or more than half of the world is. I'll tell you why I'm not. I'm not because if we were worried about the privacy issues, we would never ever have had internet or share of information, or that much communication, or that much knowledge, that kind of speed of gaining knowledge about things that we do now. And I think that's a progress for the mankind, if you like.
Sometimes it takes time to realize mistake as well. So we don't know yet.
We will always make mistakes.
We may know. Yeah, we may know it.
But we may have made a lot bigger mistake if we didn't do it. The conservative view is not a safe view. The conservative with small c, that where you say, okay, if we didn't kind of delve into this, we wouldn't have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we would have been better off, is the quick sort of conclusion that people come to. But that's not true. It's with the money is the same thing. If you kind of stick to what you've got, or something, you don't make new openings in various ways, philosophically, if you like, then you don't know that that's a safer way, even though people have some kind of false feeling that it is a better way, that it's safer, not better, maybe it is safer. But this, you open yourself to various challenges. You just need to deal with these challenges. And I'm sure that the mechanisms of preserving privacy or increasing privacy in this overly exposed world will improve. There will be radically different or new ways of preserving.
There are initiatives to help people be connected but still have privacy.
Absolutely.
So when people want it, they can make the changes to support it. I think there's a thing called a black phone currently, and you can't be tracked when using stuff like that. So
yes, well, this is what we were sort of talking about before. That as long as you have the power to switch it off.
Yeah.
That is.
But they turn it on per default. Yeah.
Yeah, it's opt-in currently.
No, by default you opt in, but if you
in a small line, yeah.
That is also something to be discussed.
No, that's what I mean, like
but if you say it's opt out by default, then there'd be perhaps a lot less of a take up of technology and a lot less benefits, by and large, than what we have now. Now we're letting ourselves in benefits and also the risks, but then if you are cautious, or if you are very cautious, you say, oh no, I'm going to switch this off now, or now I'm switching it off, and then on another occasion I will switch it on again. That kind of, this opens a lot of questions. There's no, the key message is that there are no safe answers, there are no static answers. Some of these things that we're talking about will just die out in the next period, but they may reappear in 10 years time because the technology will be, God knows what, but it will be a lot more advanced than it is now. If we adopt the view that the trend will continue, where the technology is kind of progressing at a phenomenal pace, as it has done, in the past years. So there are no definitive answers. This is for everybody to make up their own mind. But the technology is there, the trends are there. We can identify them, and I think this is quite an interesting thing. The other thing is another kind of a ubiquitous connectivity type of thing, where it's used for making advertising routine sort of thing. So we've already seen with Google that there are subtle ways, or not so subtle, but more subtle than before, not as direct and not as perhaps primal ways of advertising, where your profile is being used, you're not kind of inundated with adverts, but they are somewhere on the side that you can use them as and when you want them. This proved to be very efficient in a way, but this is not the end of the story of advertising. There's a whole, if you like, the whole science behind how you approach consumers, or
to reach that level of no needing of advertising.
To reach that level of some kind of novel paradigms of advertising. Here it says Foursquare was supposed to be the next big thing in social media and advertising. By tracking where users were, brands could supply them with the right offers at the right time. This is if you do the user profiling, if you have all the kind of sensory information about where the context is, at which time of the day, where you are geographically, are you on the beach, are you skiing, the top of the Alps, or whatever you're doing, that a context related advertising comes sort of seamlessly into your mind, that sort of thing. So that was the problem. The problem, it says, it required too much conscious effort on the part of the end user. So the end user needed to kind of compile all of that. Rather than being seamless, they had to remember to check in every time they visited somewhere. This is for Foursquare. And indeed, yes, that's a bit, whenever you ask the user to kind of proactively do something, this is a minus in a way, because, the user, after 2 steps, the user gets fed up with that sort of thing. And it is non-elegant. I don't like it either. From the point of view almost mathematically as a solution. It should be seamless. It should be seamless. It should be in real time. It should be context aware. In some kind of idealized theoretical kind of thinking. This is how we imagine everything we do. All this kind of predictability and things, it should kind of seamlessly come to us. Now, it looked like a fairy tale maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but it doesn't now. It looks like more of a kind of an emerging reality, that sort of thing. So it'd be interesting to see what this more about the advertising routines and the native advertising, all these kind of various other concepts that are emerging, but it's the same from the same philosophy. Then the advertisers, the marketers, invent the terms, or they kind of create a narrative around that, knowing what or thinking that they know what the user wants, that kind of thing. Now the data, big sort of emphasis on data, and it's called Dr. Data is around the corner. So we already mentioned that the data and open access to data is the thing of the era. We still don't know enough, far from enough of we can do with the data, but we know a lot more than maybe some years ago. Sort of new technologies and methodologies of how to analyze the data on the fly, how to deal with data, select the right data, create profiles out of data, monitor things on the fly, all in some sort of agile way, dealing with it, and using new methods that are known or became known as big data and big data analysis. That is something that is emerging as a next big thing, really. And we here in the UK have a lot of knowledge and a lot of kind of leadership on these new methodologies. So being in the forefront of that domain, I think is a very, very interesting and very potentially lucrative as well way forward to sort of embrace, take part in the sort of data analysis in this kind of modern way. The next thing, they say there's no such thing as a digital free lunch. They want to say, sorry. He said no ecosystem is guaranteed to be 100% safe, which means your data isn't 100% safe either, of course. Apple iCloud users brutally reminded of this in September 2014 when a collection of almost 500 private pictures of various celebrities were leaked to the public. Now, did everyone who read about it or stole a glance at the photos use the opportunity to reflect on their own behavior and check their sort of safety of their data? Well, this is feeding back to our talk about privacy, and but it's I think it is very nice that it found its way on the kind of dominating trends in 2015. The sort of what we do about the security and safety of our data and how much we expose, and not to lose this kind of the richness of information that we want, and also the various predictabilities that come with that, but that we do it in a sort of safe way. So I suggest that you read that in your own time, but this is the thing that we already mentioned. I think there's also number 7 says something about certain, I would call it a saturation with technology, because we're so hooked on technology, we're spending so much time on it, we are so obsessed with it in a way. I mean, as a, you know, well, individually there are differences, but you know, by and large, that is the trend. But then we may be reaching an element with it, and people are then, you know, start to kind of reach for more intuitive or more kind of classic ways of doing things. So rather than kind of typing stuff and all that, if you kind of could just convey your thoughts to something without the hassle, that would be a very nice thing to do. And you say, welcome to the era of the neo-Luddite. They're here to make sure you switch off, so that we have some kind of detox regimes where we don't use the sort of digital technology at all. There's a, you know, I read about it, you know, and unexpectedly in various sources like that, you have to have this kind of cleansing acts here and there.
Do you have an application for that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, there may be something that you even don't know is an application. It's there.
It can be something new.
Yeah. It says, talk to the hand, the phone ain't listening. Most of us are either happy, ambivalent, or a little irritated at the appearance of adverts in our mobile apps, YouTube videos, websites, etc. But overall, we are using it. But it's the, you know, I think this is a good kind of what's the word? Step back kind of perspective. To look at the you know, the technology from in some sort of putting the perspective and you know, remain your common sense, remain critical about it, which is I think very, very, because it's not the solution to everything. But still, you know, we do need our creativity. It's fantastic still, because it's you know, it boosts our creativity. We come up with you know, completely non-linear thoughts about it, and while it is that, I think it's good. But then there comes a point when, you know, it becomes a little bit too saturated, or we're self-perpetuating, or, you know, we are just churning out more of the same. At that point, it becomes counterproductive. It's and then you need to kind of, you know, cut of some sort. But other things like, you know, talking to the phones, talking to the devices, you know, which now can recognize the voice or the speech, or doing the gestures, recognize the gestures, so you can, you know, so you do a lot of if you like, intuitive ways of communicating with your technology. That might be a more appealing way to the, you know, people, rather than typing in inputs and, you know, things. That's another trend that you know, feeds into this kind of more seamless way of using technology. Number 8, moving fashion forward. It says here where Barbara leads, the rest follow. I don't know about that, but they obviously like Barbara. So what should we make of the designer's decision to launch an innovation division tasked with exploring the intersection of fashion and technology? Now that's, I suppose, an ocean of possibilities, what we can do with it. In an industry where chasing the new things is not so much an ideology but a business model, staying 2 steps ahead of the competition is a smart move. So for fashion retailers, There's a challenge for fashion retailers. There's a challenge for fashion designers. There's a challenge for us as consumers of those goods. How we can absorb all that novelty, try it out, or how it can change our perception. This is a very interesting thing. There were various. I think it was last year. It's probably still on. I just didn't follow it up. Don't know. But there was they realized that there's something about online shopping and in-store shopping has to be done. There's a lot of online shopping, a lot more. It's growing. That grows beyond any kind of prediction, I think, and it's very, very widespread. Still, the in-store shopping is not dead, is there. So the combination, to what extent you're going to do things online, and then you go to some kind of special outlet of say, House of Fraser, and where you could be trying out things that you've selected online. There were these experiments, but I haven't seen that taking off, even though there were talks about these things. But is something that this just what I want to say is that there are experiments that try to answer the question of what's the good proportion between the paradigm and the other paradigm, and with these the other trends that were mentioned in the online shopping, with the profiling and with technology that comes back, where you could do some sort of augmented reality type of trying things out, or at least to see what you would look like in one of those sort of items of clothing. That is, these are the things that have been entertained in the past, and again joining it up into a package is one aspect of that. So there is for the retailers, there's a job for designers, how they use technology. So moving fashion forward, where fashion is already an industry that is, as it says here, very right here, it's about the new thing. Then you have to be really 2 steps ahead to be winning those markets. Number 9 here is going digital, the road to the general election. I think that is a chapter of its own. How the elections have been energized and influenced, if you like, by social media and by the technology. Twitter, in particular, played a fantastic part in certain election campaigns. In the Obama campaign, before that, there was some another which I can't remember. Before Obama, there was where there was already a very prominent role of social media. So and given that we're talking it's 4 to 8 years ago kind of period, so it's not new. But all of the things, all of the above, shall we say, influenced the sort of the role of and the trends in using digital technology for engaging people in political debate, engaging people in the in any kind of political activity, including them voting, that's a very, very powerful tool, and set of tools, of environment. It's more than a tool. So that would be interesting to read. What possibly could be the new trends in that kind of domain, which is already being used in the past. Now a different source. I found this relatively interesting or informative, if not so interesting, but informative. From the marketing point of view, most commercially important digital marketing trend for 2015. So the number one is content marketing. So that's still kind of it's got 29.6% on that scale. The big data is the second one down with 14.6. Then marketing automation, including web personalization and behavioral email marketing. That's number 3 with 12.8% of the vote. Mobile marketing, mobile advertising, sites and apps, 11. Then social media marketing and social customer relationship management, CRM systems. Conversion rate optimization, improving website experiences. Conversion rate, in that jargon you probably know, means that people will visit the website, also buy something from it, so they actually do the final coup rather than just watching, reading, contemplating, considering. So that's the conversion rate. And there are ways in which we design websites. This is, there's whole science behind it. From the cognitive psychology point of view to the various other sort of usability parameters where you can optimize your conversion rate rather than letting them in and then just not knowing what to do with your viewers of your pages. You kind of channel them very beautifully to the sort of the execution part of your website. So optimizing the conversion rate is one of the big things still. Search engine optimization, that would have been higher up some time ago, but it features in the middle of the scale there. It's search engine optimization. Then communities, branded niche or vertical communities is the next. Paid search marketing, e.g. Google AdWords, pay-per-click type of thing. So these are all kind of vehicles to success, if you like, from the marketing point of view. Partnerships, including affiliate and co-marketing, display, i.e. targeted banners through ad networks and social media, and then other online PR. Look, online PR, very not so significant, only 1%. Quite interesting. If you want to have a closer look to this report on trends, it's the smartinsights.com. There's a link in the slides, you can have a look at that. Forbes view, this is like more kind of a little bit more almost theoretical, if you like. I'll read it out because you can click on the link. But it says as a partner at Red Rocket Ventures, I'm exposed to hundreds of startup ideas each year. This is this person called George Deeb, contributor. Below is sampling of the key digital trends that are getting the most investor attention in 2015 in no particular order, he says. So I just copied the first 6, even though they're not in a particular order. One is big data becoming big insights, predictive and prescriptive. Exactly as we said before, so there's no difference. And it's very nice to see all of these kind of analysts converging into the sort of concepts that are trending now. Number 2, cloud-based everything, and then everything as a service, software as a service, platform as a service, etc., etc. It has gotten to the point that if you can imagine an enterprise solution going into the cloud, whatever system that may be, it will. The CMOs evolving into CTOs. CEOs are no longer looking as they're marking success based on branding and creatives. It is all about making smart, data-driven marketing decisions which, with the drive, a clearly attributable ROI. What is that? What's
Return on
ROI?
investment.
Of interest?
Return on investment.
Or return on investment. Thank you. Forcing CMOs to leverage technologies in ways they never previously imagined in their role. So, you know, there's a kind of a an infrastructure into the kind of senior management where people are specializing in, again, you see the marketing, the smart data-driven marketing decisions. That's the key phrase in here. Omnichannel customer-centric focus. This sounds quite a phrase, but enterprise brands are trying to break down internal silos, again, joined up approach everywhere, even within the organizations, of course. So breaking down internal silos, important message. To get disparate systems to better integrate around one holistic customer-focused experience. This is quite a philosophy that, as I said, emerges in every domain. Think digital, mobile, social CRM databases all merging into one, tracking users across the user experience. Then digital currency, from Bitcoin to beyond. World currencies beware. New digital currencies are being developed which will reinvent how monies move around globally in the future. That would be an interesting one to read. No particular sense for it. I've read quite a lot about Bitcoin. Do you have an opinion on that?
It's a bit risky because it's untraceable, the Bitcoins.
It is.
So they need to invent something that, you know, because you can buy bad stuff with the...
But it's also very volatile. I mean, in value, it doesn't have the... I can't imagine it as a proper currency, if you like. Not stable yet, no. But that what this means that the world needs something that will be, and that's what this article is here. New digital currencies are being developed which will reinvent how monies move around globally in the future. And then mobile payments, needing your wallet and credit cards will be a thing of the past as your mobile apps via your phone will replace that need. If you want to see more, you can. You just click on that link. And hopefully...
It's a bit scary, like the sudden change to everything. Currency and...
Well, but this is because we're talking about it all in one go. But it is actually also, you know, an awakening kind of, because it is happening around us in some sort of stealth way, sometimes not so stealth. So I think we should be aware of, you know, all of the aspects of it, and why wouldn't it emerge in one area if it emerged in 5 other areas? You know, there's logic to it. This is the Forbes article, so you can have a look at a lot of them. What I'm also 3D printing, for example, I like that. I think this is another a very big thing. The Internet of Things is something that's been there before. Well, I'm drawing your attention to say almost, well, this is almost a random, I was going to say, which is absolutely not true. It's not random at all. But it isn't like a one authority that the trends are. I'm trying to cover the grounds from, you know, various sources that are credible or have been credible in the past, like Forbes is, or Gartner research that I didn't include in here is, But this is one particular person that actually writes on the Forbes website, so it's got certain credibility, but there may be different opinions. So if we look at various, the 10 of those takes on trends, you can then begin to perhaps make up your own mind about it. But there are, the Internet of Things has been around for a while, quite a while, years now. But with the sensor technologies and integration, fusion of sensors into one integrated information system, then the smart homes or any object that could be tagged in a certain way becomes the part becomes an object in terms of technology, in terms of tracking software, whatever the technology we're using to kind of do something in an automated or remote way to this object. So that's the, and then it says, with each turn of the innovation wheel, old school products are getting smarter. Yeah, connected to web. So the connectivity, if we are extracting the keywords of the trends, the connectivity, ubiquitous connectivity is one thing, and also the sort of sensorizing all of these classic objects, then they become objects in kind of in a technology and software type of meaning. From the thermostats to refrigerators, entrepreneurs are reinventing most everything. 3D printing, it's quite fascinating actually. Now a reality which is revolutionizing many manufacturing sectors, helping them to lower costs compared to original techniques, but also some fascinating sort of reproductions, if you like, even in biology, in biological terms, that could be very are very revolutionary. Wearables, anything wearable, Google glasses, watches, pieces of garment, all sorts of things that are, it says here, and your pets. That you can tag in a way, and then that has a little computer, a little processor in it, so you can connect it in this kind of way. Drones, sharing economy booms, entertainment, digital advertisers shifting to programmatic marketplaces, and so on and so forth. Quite, very, very interesting. Look at that. There's a lot of stuff here that you can read. Social intelligence. Many innovative companies are taking social data to the next level, listening to the billions of conversations. I'll just do this so you can read. You can read. Conversations on social media, actionable insights for companies to make better decisions around their brand, marketing, product, etc. I would be very worried how budgets will shift in this direction if I was a traditional market research firm, says this blogger. Crowdfunding is right. Crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, that's another, the collective intelligence and the collective efforts in various things is another trend that is becoming very significant, going towards sort of almost a mainstream kind of paradigm. Access to startup capital has never been has never been easier, with growing success of crowdfunding, e.g. AngelList, and crowd donation sites, e.g. Kickstarter. Traditional venture capitalists are starting to change their way they do business to compete with these new channels. So you see, there are various modalities of this kind of new way of thinking, harnessing intelligence from intelligence or resources in various ways, and so on and so forth. Very interesting. I suggest that you do read this and take your pick, depending on what you what you like, what is close to your heart or close to your business or close to your aspirations when you do your assignment. Let's go back to our dear okay. This is where I just picked up something that I was making the slides. Some kind of news items which we all, I think, covered in there. I gave them just a little bit of a systematic approach. Preemptive technology, where content providers will get better at predicting what we want to watch or read with improved recommendation engines, or even using our voice or biometrics through wearables. Have a look at The Guardian's, the whole article at The Guardian, the link is there. It's quite interesting to read. These are the sources to consider.
Is that virtual reality, the Oculus Rift?
Oculus Rift is a virtual reality. That's the head-mounted display.
Yeah,
which is a stereo, for games, but it could be for for other purposes they're using. I mean, we have in our department people who do research on Alzheimer's. Detection of early onset of Alzheimer's using Oculus Rift. There are, with the medical experts, they've created questionnaires. I was going to say, maybe that's not the right word, but a set of tests for the person who wears Oculus Rift, and then they're asked to do certain things, recognize certain objects, classify them in certain ways. So it's got various levels of complexity, and you feel like you are in a 3D space. I was wearing it the other day when the Chancellor visited the university, and our faculty in particular. We took the Chancellor of Bonnie Greer to our games lab, and we demonstrated the games produced by our students, but also Oculus Rift as a device that we're using in our research. So our PhD students demonstrated that, and I was wearing it before just to see, how it feels, the new kind of the new incarnation of the device. It's very immersive. You do feel like you're in the environment that is projected in there. You feel the depth. You feel like you're gonna fall over or something. It's good that you feel properly immersed in there, and then you do that sort of the test, which should help identify where people are on the scale.
How did you move around the environment? Like you're standing still and you're wearing the glasses?
There's various modes of operation. It's not the glasses. It's like a head-mounted display, but it's very light.
Yeah.
So you don't see the world outside.
Yeah, it covers
it covers your field of view. So you're in there, but we use it also with a Kinect device, which is capturing the motion, and so that could be combined. We combine that with Oculus Rift so that when you do it follows the motion of the kind of the avatar which is which you see within the Oculus Rift, follows the motion that you make. So you could walk or move your hands or wave or do certain things. So then if they use that for testing for Alzheimer's, for example, they need to say, there's a question like which hand did you move? Is it left or right, or the avatar moved, and so that you can kind of demonstrate you have a feel of coordination of your moves. But you can move, yes. And your move in physical space can be projected into the virtual space by using the controls like Kinect to either just monitor the motion or capture the motion, or to control the motion. So So that's, yeah, it is quite good. It's used for the games. I mean, we have it for the games.
I think they're going to use it for the army and stuff like that. Maybe astronauts.
Astronauts, yes, maybe, and probably yes for the military training or something. You know, if you want to be, when you want to kind of transport yourself into another environment, be it a game or be it a battlefield or be it a moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then these devices could be used, and because it could be programmed with precision, for example, so how you manipulate objects in that environment, for example. So it could be used for training from that point of view. You can look it up. I mean, their website, which I did recently because we were buying some new. See, you know, every time they come up with some new stuff in there.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. That was it for me. I am very happy, or I would be really recommending that you watch Jonathan's lecture from last year. That you also look up the slide PDF file, which is there, which I deliberately didn't want to go through today because it's there as a resource. You know, you wouldn't need me if we were just going through what Jonathan was saying. So, you know, a combination of the two, make up your own mind. I hope this would be something that would make you think. Okay. Have a look at the actions that you need to do. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you want me to go through that, I can, just to remind you what that is. It's all on Study Space as well. Activity, friend watching. So, okay. This isn't the last activity, sorry. This is from last year, so it's not the last activity, but it is the activity designed for this session to get you thinking about how you monitor trends and technology news stories in the future. It is important that you choose a story that is unlikely to be chosen by everyone else in the class. Choose something that is special to you and that you are genuinely interested in. There's a bit more space for entering your answers this time, so please write a bit more, especially when asked to explain. Here are the steps in the activity. Choose a recent technology news story, one that others may have missed. I mean, the points that Jonathan was making, and I agree with this. I mean, I read it before, and I said I don't want to change it, but I think it's very good. Is that not everybody starts choosing Oculus Rift or Google Glasses or something like that, but there's such a amount of new stuff that you can explore, and try and be original with that. And then just choose your technology news story. Explain carefully why you have chosen it. That would be interesting to say. Not I like it is not enough, but saying how it relates. Does it relate to something that you aspire to do? Does it relate to something that you do in your kind of spare time, whatever? But try to make case for it in a way. Give the background. That would be important one day when you go to the interview. And somebody asks you, "What do you think about that?" And you say, "Oh, I like it." But that isn't enough. That you can argue your case effectively. That's the thing. That again, this kind of connected way of thinking. Joined up. Select 5 different tools and sites to monitor this type of story. Explain how the technology involved might disrupt an industry or a market. Disrupt means that may introduce a big change. It doesn't mean to say necessarily in a negative way. Set out an experiment you would like to do to involve yourself in this or another technology trend. And then there's a feedback link. Yes, and the deadline is April 16th. So yeah, that's you've got enough time, nearly a month. to do that. Yes, number three would be interesting to see. That would make you think. So
it's not easy, actually.
It is easy.
Oh, it's
Very
because I didn't pick the right one, maybe, but
there is
there's not much on the one I picked.
there isn't quite the right and the wrong one, but I'm sure that there is more than one.
Yeah, there is more than one.
I think the
That
correct
you
one
can-
It's like 2 or 3 for the one.
But 2 or 3.
So far.
If there's 2 or 3, you can say these are 2 or 3 dominant. There may be a few more, but they really don't seem relevant at this stage.
Yeah.
So I'm resorting to these 3 for this and this reason. That's a very good answer.
Can be videos as well, I guess. Maybe.
Could be, but videos of what is there?
Yeah.
Would be the question. How do you monitor, that kind of technology news story, how it evolves? So you look at that. If the story was from, say, last year, or it could be. We're not interested quite in the 2005 stories, but it could be from 2014 or something relatively new. Then it's quite good because you could then look in the retrospect how it evolved and what were the parameters by which you actually measured how it evolved, the good stuff, the bad stuff, where it lived up to the expectations, where it didn't live up to the expectations. You have to define maybe 5 parameters you're going to be looking at. If you're looking at, I'm just making this as a metaphorical kind of comparison. If you were looking at somebody's user experience design in the website, then you would look at the analytics behind and say, now where they had parasite pages, or they didn't convert that much, or they were losing customers all over the place because they didn't know what to do with them after they've seen the product, or something like that. Whereas now, with this new technology, we are creating profiles, guiding the customer, funneling them through just to the point where they're going to be buying it. And you can see that from the analytics. Behind the scenes, you can apply Google Analytics to the website, so just to see over a period of, albeit a short period of time, just to see how it looks. So this is one way of kind of quantifying or measuring in a tangible way how this technology helps, evolves, disrupts, whatever it does. So you give it a bit of a thought, and that would be. I'm sure there will be evaluations also on the web that you can find that other people have evaluated that technology already, so that will give you a clue of how they evaluated it. Good?
Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.